Hi, welcome to the Microsoft Partner Showcase. I'm Brian Hittney, a solution architect here at Microsoft. With the general availability of Microsoft Fabric, we thought this would be a great opportunity to highlight some of the solutions that build off of Fabric and Power BI. Embedding Power BI in a multi-tenant environment or creating white label solutions can be a time-consuming effort. The Reporting Hub solves many of these challenges with their turnkey solution. We spoke with Brian DeLuca at the Reporting Hub to talk about some of these challenges and give us a tour of the platform. So let's dive in. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Microsoft Partner Showcase. I'm Brian Hittney, a solution architect here at Microsoft, and I'm joined today by my colleague, Chris Mitchell. Chris, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. I'm Chris Mitchell. I'm also a partner solution architect with Microsoft's Global Partner Solutions. And we're actually joined today by a really cool company that we've been working with called Shift Analytics. Brian joins us today. He is the co-founder and partner of Shift Analytics. Can you say hi, Brian?
Hey, everyone. Thanks for having me. Appreciate you guys having me on today.
So one of the things that we find a lot when we're working with partners that are leveraging Power BI embedded is there's some key challenges they run into when implementing Power BI embedded. And Brian is here to talk to us today about a product they have called the Reporting Hub that helps address this unique challenge. Brian, can you tell us a little bit about the background of the Reporting Hub and how you came to building the solution?
Yeah, for sure. So, before we get into the Reporting Hub, it's important to understand kind of Shift Analytics. And Shift Analytics has been around since 2016. We've been a Power BI specialist and consultative organization around the Power BI and Azure data stack space going back to 2016. We're based in Western Canada, and from that experience, we've learned over the years kind of where the gaps were in some of the implementations that have to do with Power BI, and specifically Power BI embedded, and that's kind of where the Reporting Hub was born out of. And the Reporting Hub's been in market for about 3-4 years now. We're now in over 20 countries in all 6 continents, delivering on Power BI embedded solutions in a faster and more efficient manner with our product.
Very cool. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the challenges, the frequent blockers you will see for adoption when implementing Power BI embedded that you guys address?
Yeah, absolutely. And we hear a lot of the same things from our customers. And although Power BI embedded is it's an incredible tool, it's extremely powerful. There's so many things you can do with it in terms of enhancing your overall analytics and business intelligence experience. The biggest problem is how difficult it is to implement. So a lot of organizations know what they want to do. They know they want to be able to create a more seamless experience for the distribution and consumption of their analytics, but to do so isn't exactly a turnkey solution. So you're typically going to need developers on staff, or you're going to need to hire developers. It's typically going to take months and multiple months to deploy a Power BI embedded solution. To get it really to a polished, customer-facing solution, and that's where the Reporting Hub comes in. The Reporting Hub takes all of that complexity out of the implementation of Power BI embedded and makes it a really kind of turnkey plug-and-play solution. So it's a really standard, set of roadblocks that we see from our customers, and it ultimately comes down to time to market and overall complexity to deploy.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, I worked a lot with partners implementing Power BI embedded, and you're absolutely right that it's a very developer-focused topic. The engine of Power BI by itself is super, super powerful, but when you start talking about, hey, well, how do I do a custom menu, or how do I take my identity and implement it in role-based security or whatever, that you start cracking code and saying, well, here's the 10 lines of code that would take to do this, or here's how you would build a custom catalog solution, and I kind of say it akin to, hey, well, we've got this really great engine, which is the reporting, but all the scaffolding that needs to go around it to fit inside your application is what's missing. And I'm assuming that's what you're providing here with the Reporting Hub.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of the customers we talk to also, they're fairly, they're fairly new in the journey of Power BI or Power BI Analytics, and they know what they want to achieve in terms of an end goal, but they don't necessarily know how to get there. So it's quite surprising, actually. We talk to a lot of folks who don't fully understand the overall, breadth of kind of the Power BI platform. So a lot of the times they say, hey, we want to be able to do this with Power BI. We want to be able to share seamlessly to our external customers. We want to create a multi-tenant environment where we have segregation, but they don't know how to do it. And they actually find us that way. So it's more of the fact that we're kind of focusing on the overall overall, what's the goal? What's the solution of delivering this product versus, not every customer even knows what Power BI Embedded is. They just know what they want to do, and they don't know that there's this great tool out there to do it. And I think that's one of the interesting things we see a lot of as well.
Very cool. You bring up a really interesting point there with multi-tenancy. A lot of times we'll see Power BI Embedded being implemented by an ISV that is doing some sort of multi-tenant cloud service. But as I understand it, you also have single tenancy options as well. What do you see when your implementations in general? Do you tend to see more single tenant implementations or multi-tenant, or is it about the same?
Yeah, great question. And it really, I would say it's probably more focused on multi-tenancy. I think we definitely do have some single tenant organizations, but the vast majority are multi-tenant. And a lot of our customers who start maybe on a single tenant do so more for a proof of concept, or they want to try out something, and before they're ready to go all in on kind of a pure multi-tenant production environment. That's typically where we see those single tenants. But the full scale enterprise type solutions are more predominantly going to be the multi-tenant. And that's really to be able to deliver, secure and segregated content to your audience. And that's ultimately what the real benefit of that multi-tenancy brings.
Sure. Yeah. Monitoring, avoiding the noisy neighbor scenarios, among other things, and making sure that customer A doesn't see customer B's data. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. And customers are savvy. They understand that, a lot of our customers have their own customers who they're distributing content to, and they know the challenges. They know that I need to make sure I have a secure environment and I'm sharing securely. And a lot of the times, they want to be able to have kind of custom branding around their tenant or custom domain around that tenant. And that's really, these are savvy customers who expect this kind of, this level of solution. And we do see that with a lot of our more kind of advanced customers for sure.
Cool. So one of the things that you mentioned earlier that I think is that I'd like to dig into a little bit more, if you don't mind, is accelerated adoption, right? Have you seen, or do you have any factoids about how quickly you can bring a customer online and how much time they save in general implementing when they're leveraging the reporting hub?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's probably our single biggest, benefit. Certainly one of them is time to market. And I think it's safe to say your standard, just getting off the ground of Power BI embedded is going to take, several months to come out with a polished solution, customer facing solution. You're certainly looking at the kind of post 6 month time frame, certainly 3 to 6 if you're going very aggressively to do it. And that's kind of what we hear from our customers as well, is they may have started down that journey and realized this is going to take greater than 6 months or a year to do kind of the full solution, and that's how they ultimately find us or choose to work with us. Is our solution? You can install our solution right from our website, and very soon you're going to be able to install it directly from the Azure Marketplace as well. You can install it in less than an hour. It depends what Azure region you're in, but some are faster than others in terms of installing. But you can typically be installed, deployed, integrated in less than an hour, and delivering analytics certainly in the same day. So we're talking about going from a multi-month, best case scenario, or if you're using a product like the Reporting Hub, you bring that down from months down to hours, right. And that's the real benefit.
Yeah, and even a week if QA gets involved, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we definitely have some enterprise customers that take longer than a few hours.
For sure,
But in terms of setting up the framework, installing the application, turning the dials and making sure your min settings are correct, you're there within a matter of hours. And certainly a same day deployment is to be expected. And typically, if it takes longer than that, it's generally because of bigger organizations and that kind of thing.
Sure. Well, we alluded to this a little bit already, but did you want to mention any of the common use cases you see? I know you talked about multi-tenant versus single tenant. Are there any common implementation patterns and use cases that you guys run into?
Yeah, we definitely see the same kind of several use cases come up time and time again. And I mentioned earlier, we're in over 20 different countries with the Reporting Hub, and which is really neat because we get to see what's happening all around the world in terms of, Power BI and how different organizations in different countries are using it. And it's funny to see all the same kind of pattern of use cases. The most common pattern or the most common use case that we see, for sure, is the company that calls us or reaches out and said, hey, I have this great Power BI content. I've got this amazing suite of analytics, but I want to be able to share it more seamlessly with an external customer base. I have customers that I want to share. I want to control control the portal or the distribution method of my content. I want more control, more security, more branding control. I want to white label that and be able to share that with my external customers that aren't in my organization. That's by far and away the biggest use case that we see. It's how do I better share my Power BI content more seamlessly with external users, where I have more control over that in terms of the actual portal itself. So that's kind of the most predominant. We also see a fairly common use case with more of the kind of large scale enterprise level organization that realizes that they may work with a bunch of consultants, or they may have a bunch of different departments or different regions and geographies and different multi-tenant organizations where you have a parent company with a bunch of different child companies within it. And again, there are several different Microsoft tenants at play. So that's another use case we see a lot of, is where you can use a tool like the Reporting Hub to consolidate, create a centralized platform to distribute your Power BI content within a large scale enterprise organization. So those are the two predominant that we see. We have a few more, but those are by far and away, those probably account to 80 to 90% of our customer base.
That's pretty cool. I hadn't run into that second scenario before, so that's neat to hear about. I guess the multinational conglomerate problem. How do we have unified reporting?
Yeah,
Cool.
it is definitely a real problem with these kind of multi-tenant organizations. Where one company buys another company. How do I share seamlessly? They don't necessarily want to do a migration of everything, and that allows them to have that seamless experience.
Very cool. So Brian Hitney, I know I've been monopolizing the conversation. I'll pitch it over to you for a second, see if you wanted to jump in.
No, this is great. I'm really looking forward to seeing a demo. But before we get into that, Brian, did you want to talk a little bit about the pricing and consumption models of the Reporting Hub?
Yeah, for sure. So the way the Reporting Hub pricing works is it's not necessarily based on consumption the way that your Power BI embedded capacity might be. It's kind of set up into more of a tiered structure depending on what you need in terms of feature set. So we have our pricing starting kind of at your essentials tier, which starts at $199 per month. And then we go right up to what we call our commercial tier, which is $999 a month. So we have, 4 different pricing tiers to kind of fit any scenario or any use case implementation or size of organization. So typically our essential customers they just need a very basic portal. They're not looking to do anything too sophisticated. They just want kind of a simple way to distribute content, where then we have our business subscription and our enterprise subscription, which are more geared to kind of that mid-range organization who needs some of the more the more complex bells and whistles that come with Power BI, some of the more feature sets, things like additional authentication options being supported, things like role level security, and again, your multi-tenancy, all that kind of comes in with a more higher tier of our pricing model. And then right up to our commercial tier, which really, gives you really everything you could possibly want within the Power BI embedded ecosystem. It has all, services, everything from service principal profiles, and supports dynamic binding, has unlimited tenants. So really is kind of the Cadillac of our pricing products. So, and then of course on the Power BI capacity side, that's where your consumption is going to come into play on that cost. But during our demo, I'll speak to how the Reporting Hub kind of works lockstep with that.
Perfect.
Yeah, great. Why don't we just jump right into the demo then?
Very good. I will share my screen and then we can jump into it.
Great.
Okay, so now I'm sharing my screen, and what we're looking at here is the basic landing page of the Reporting Hub. So to kind of start, I'll explain how the Reporting Hub works, and it is a fully deployed application, which means that you install it directly to your Azure environment as a customer. So it is a standalone cloud-based web application that's installed to your Azure App Service within your Azure environment. So once it's fully deployed, you can come in, do your own DNS setup so that it resides within your domain. So you have complete control from the domain down. We like to say it's 100% white label from the domain down. So here we're looking at it, with, of course, Reporting Hub branding, but I'll explain how we can, white label the application to suit really any corporate identity. So for starters, it's going to look something a little bit like this. And we have a fairly simple navigation structure on the left, which is made up of your categories and your content pages. And here's just a quick example of an embedded Power BI report here. So you can see I have the full functionality like I'm going to expect with my Power BI content. I have my filter pane, of course, on the side here. I've got my content pane, and these, of course, are the tabs that are in my Power BI report. And you can see it's a very clean and simple user interface. And that's what we hear from a lot of our customers. Our customers want a clean, simple, easy to understand user interface. And that's really what we're trying to achieve with the reporting up here. The reporting is front and center. That's why that's the whole purpose of it. So we put the reporting front and center. Now we have a whole host of administrative features here. So I'm an administrator right now. So I'm looking at all my different administrative features here. I also have a bunch of page properties as well. So I can allow editing or go into full screen mode, or I can create a shareable link where I can send that URL to a prospective customer or somebody that I want to maybe trial my analytics. I can create an exported copy of my report as well, so I can allow my users to export. I can also create a scheduled email. So on a monthly or weekly or whatever schedule you would like, you can actually predetermine in PDF or PowerPoint, export your report, and have that automatically delivered to a defined list of customers in a white label manner, which is a really neat feature that we've recently come out with. And of course, we have all the Power BI, things that we would expect, like personal bookmarks, favorites, all those things as well, so that we can really round out the Power BI experience to support that. So let's jump into some of the white labeling aspects. So I'm going to jump into my admin settings here, and I'm going to go edit theme. So of course, every one of our customers wants a white label experience. That's kind of the main goal, is to be able to really create a customized portal, customized web app for your Power BI content. So the idea here is you can come in, very easily add your logo, size your logo, edit it so it matches your content exactly and aligns with your overall corporate identity. You can create, a whole bunch of different options from your favicon, your browser tab. You can actually customize the little loader. So instead of the little Power BI loader that spins when your content loads, you can put your own GIF file or your own image file there to really customize and create a white label experience for your content. Now, depending on which authentication scheme, you can customize your login, logout screens that you're using. We also have options to create secondary logos to co-brand it with your customer, maybe, or you can add a footer that's a hyperlink to drive your customers to a help desk. There's a lot of customization and features that really allow you to create a custom portal for your users. We have multiple theme options to choose from, so you can really choose the app layout that best suits your preference. Everyone has a slight different personal preference how they want their applications to look. So we have multiple different layouts and themes that allow you to do that. We have a whole host of colors, so you can really theme and brand this to match your corporate identity or align with your existing website or maybe another application you're already using today. So everything is color configurable. You can really make it look like however you want. You can also set the fonts as well. So tons of branding and white labeling options available to really make the app your own. So that's from kind of a theming perspective. Now let's talk a little bit about Power BI settings. So I'm going to go to my Power BI settings. And here we have is where we actually manage our Power BI embedded capacity. So the way this works is your Power BI embedded capacity is going to be on in the background, while the reporting hub is going to programmatically manage that for you to make sure that it's on when it needs to be and it's off when it doesn't need to be. Now, we also support the brand new Microsoft Fabric SKUs as well, which we're quite excited about. So the two sets of SKUs that you can use with the Reporting Hub are your Power BI Embedded, and also all the new Fabric SKUs are going to work with the Reporting Hub as well now. So you're going to come in, choose your capacity that you're running, and you can basically create windows when you want your capacity to be on, so that it aligns typically with your refresh schedule. So your Reporting Hub is going to activate it when you tell it to be on, keep it on for how many minutes you want, and then it's going to deactivate or pause it when you don't need it to be on. And then outside of that, every time a user logs into the Reporting Hub is going to activate your capacity for you. And after whatever period you set of inactivity, it is then going to pause your capacity after your users leave the site. So again, you're only really consuming your Power BI capacity when you need to be. So it works a little bit like a motion sensor in a room. When you walk into a room, light goes on, walk out, light goes off. Same concept here in terms of managing your capacity. So a really great feature. And again, this is all no code. So you don't need to worry about running scripts. You don't need to worry about creating this yourself. It's simply just go in and change a few dials to set this up. Another thing that we can do is manage our gateway. So this is a very simple way where we can add the application service principal to our data sources and our gateway. And again, this is something you're typically going to need to do with code or scripts. And the reporting hub really does this and makes it seamless for you. So you just have to simply select your gateway, and it's going to push that service principal access and permission directly down to your gateway and all your data sources. Okay, earlier we talked about multi-tenancy as well. So I have my app settings here. I'm just going to show how easy it is to create a multi-tenant environment. So if you're doing a multi-tenant deployment, I went into my app settings here and I have this tenant admin area. Here's where I can come in and create multiple tenants or manage my existing tenants. So I can just simply come in, and as a global administrator of the reporting hub, I can just simply say add new tenant. I can say, you know, this is my new customer, or this is my customer A. The neat thing about our multi-tenant environments is they're all completely configurable. You can actually set different languages for each tenant. So if you're a multinational organization who has to have a Spanish tenant or a German tenant and an English tenant, you can actually create unique tenants that have unique language settings in them. You can also create individual authentication schemes for each of your tenants. So the reporting hub supports multiple authentication options. So by default, it's going to work with Azure Active Directory business to business, so B2B, and it's going to support Microsoft single sign-on. But we also support Okta, we also support OpenID and Auth0 as well. So if you wanted to create your own single sign-on experience with an existing application, or you wanted to create your own kind of custom sign-in experience using any one of those authentication schemes, you can do that and configure that with your reporting hub. And the neat thing is you can apply that at your tenant level as well. So you could actually have one tenant that's using a Microsoft single sign-on and another tenant that's running on Okta. You can also customize the domain for each of your tenants as well. So if you had a unique domain you wanted to create for your customer A, and then customer B has its own domain, you can do that as well. So a lot of really great customizations available at that multi-tenant level. And of course, most importantly, you can create segregation of your Power BI workspaces with your tenants. So each tenant has permissions to specific workspaces and specific data sets within those workspaces to really create a secure, segregated environment. So that's kind of a very quick overview of kind of the multi-tenant concept. But as an individual user, if I have permission to multiple tenants like my user does here, you can see I've got all my tenants are going to show up within my user profile, and I can very easily jump between all the tenants I have permissions to, and those permissions are going to be honored. So whichever permissions I have in each of these tenants are going to be granted depending on which tenant I'm in. So really great kind of secure way to manage a multiple tenant environment. So those are kind of some of the key concepts within the reporting hub application. And then just generally speaking, in terms of embedding content, which of course is the whole idea here, I'm going to go to manage content. And it's very simple to embed content. So I can create a new category if I would like, and a category is simply just a navigation item. We support 26,000 different icons, so you can really pick the icon that best suits your content. And then once I've created my categories, I can come and embed content pages with my Power BI content. And I just simply click a new add content page, and here's my new report. Now we support Power BI reports, Power BI dashboards, and Power BI paginated reports also. We support row-level security with all of those as well. So if you're running a row-level security report and paginated, for example, that's going to be supported by the reporting hub. So I can choose my icon and description. We are also supporting dynamic binding if you're doing that. I simply just select the workspace and it will fetch my content. I choose the report I would like to embed, and then I can pick the individual pages of that report that I would like to embed. So in this case, I'm embedding this Power BI report with these specific two pages. I then have some different options, page properties that I can enable. I may not want to allow my user to share or export the report. I can choose that as an administrator. And then, of course, I assign permissions. So this is where I would add, if it's Azure Active Directory security groups, I would apply those security groups here to grant permissions. And it's literally that simple. I just click save and I've embedded my report. So you can see there's no code. It's purely turnkey solution. And then I can go and access my Power BI content securely with all the permissions applied. So that's in a nutshell the reporting hub. So I hope that was informative. Now we do have a much more in-depth demonstration on our knowledge center, which can be found. I think we'll put it up at the end of the call here. We'll put some links and calls to action at the end of the meeting, but it can be found at docs.thereportinghub.com. And there's a much more thorough demo where you can go through in more detail on that page.
No, I think that was great, Brian. I mean, every time I was about to jump in and ask a question, you just naturally went right there and answered what I was about to ask. So that was perfect. Gave a really good view of a lot of the things that I hear are common. I shouldn't say objections, but common asks regarding implementing Power BI embedded. Like, hey, well, how do I build my own menuing structure? How do I apply security to reports? How do I say I want to embed this report with these 2 pages, but not this 3rd page? How do I implement custom security? Right? How do I pass row level security down to the reports? All those things are super common asks, and it's awesome to see that you guys have thought about all those. One of the things that I thought was really cool too that I don't hear asked about a lot, but naturally, you being a Canadian company, I'm sure it's top of mind for you, is that multilingual support, right? Hey, I've got some of my users that are from the US, but some are from French-speaking Canada. How do I make sure that both of those parties get the experience that honors their language preferences? So that was super cool as well.
Yeah,
and then I really like the subscriptions also, because that's another really common ask. Because Power BI, supports subscriptions out of the box, but it expects you to have a user profile. And so when you're implementing an embedded world, that's a responsibility that you have to take over, which I think is a common gap that we see a lot too.
Yeah, very much so. And I think what you're seeing really is, 3 years of being in market all over the world and getting feedback from our customers. And I think that's one of the great things about our organization is we're very customer focused, and we work with our customers and we listen to them based on what they're looking for. So what you're seeing is really kind of 3 years of customer asks in our development to really, and I'm glad to hear that kind of comes through.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
Well, thank you very much, Brian. That's a great demo, and it definitely addresses one of the largest pain points that I see with Power BI embedded implementations. Do you want to talk a little bit about the best way to get started with Reporting Hub, and maybe hint about any roadmap items that you might have on the agenda?
Yeah, absolutely. To get started is very simple. So you can go to our website, thereportinghub.com. You can actually get started directly you can install the application, or we have a self-serve installation tool that will install the app. It will actually install all the relevant Azure resources as well for you. So you can, it's a complete turnkey installation, and we offer a true no obligation free trial where you can try our solution. You can install, deploy, try our solution. We don't ask for your credit card up front. So you can do a true free trial. And we have a ton of information available on our Knowledge Center, which takes you through how to get started, how to install the Reporting Hub, how to make sure that your Power BI service is set up to allow the two tools to work with one another. So all that is very simple. It's available on our website, and you can purchase a subscription directly through our application as well. The other way you can get started is going to the Azure Marketplace. We do have an Azure Marketplace ad, and we will be coming very soon live with a Azure Transactable ad. So you will be able to install and purchase the Reporting Hub directly through the Azure Marketplace, and that is coming very soon. Hopefully by the time this video airs, it'll be live. So those are the two main ways you can get started, and to check out our website or go to the Azure Marketplace. In terms of roadmap items, so we are constantly improving and coming out with release updates for the Reporting Hub to make the software better and more aligned with what our customers are looking for, and that's going to continue into the future. So one of the biggest things we'll be focusing on in the near term is aligning with Microsoft Fabric. So there's a lot of great new features and functions coming out with Microsoft Fabric, and we're going to make sure the Reporting Hub is aligned to support all the great direction Microsoft's taking with Fabric. So you're going to see changes and new features coming out to align with that. And as well, just making based on our customer feedback and what our customers are looking for, you're going to see that as well continued into the future.
Great. And by the way, I think what you guys have done with your Knowledge Center is fantastic. I love how it goes through both getting started, has all of your concepts in there, and then also a number of tutorials. So a lot of great information in there, and I think that's nicely put together.
Thank you.
Yeah,
appreciate that.
Well, I was going to say, it's been great talking to you today, Brian. I really appreciate you investing the time to take us through the Reporting Hub and demoing to us. And I think I look forward to seeing you guys be successful with this in the future.
Great. I really appreciate you guys making the time for us today. It's been a great time, and yeah, I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you guys and be able to showcase what we're up to.
Perfect.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Really appreciate your time, and thanks everybody for tuning in for this partner showcase, and we'll see you next time. Take care.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.